being an indie author is a small business. Yes, what are the financial realities of being an indie author? Well, I think it depends on how many buckets of revenue we can create. Being an indie author is a small business. And so if we're trying to recoup all our costs through marketing and sales simply online, then it's going to be very hard to be profitable because indie and traditional publishing is extremely crowded. And so the question is, why would anyone pay to read your work or my work when there are prolific people out there? And we say, well, we can be emotive and say, well, everyone has a story worth telling. Well, I was a professor for many years, and would I read my students' papers if you didn't pay me? And the answer is I wouldn't. So you need to know that this, from a brutal, objective point of view, why anyone would pay for our books is a brutal reality. And so we have to think of different revenue streams to recoup those costs. And I think for me, speaking, being invitations to speak as we build an author's website through the book, because the right readers catch on and you're invited to a conference. Now, that is, for me, single-handedly been the most profitable versus sales. And I also think that it's very different for those of us on here on the BookLife new business section, because some of us have some novelty in indie publishing because for me, I won the grand prize in 24. I'm very fortunate. So our numbers are going to be very different for those who are starting out. So I want to adjust all our expectations and encourage you to create those buckets of revenue. Speaking, consultation, even, being a resource to schools or a book club, or becoming a resource in many ways. So I think that would at least help us start thinking and building a system that will help us in our business to become more profitable. So a warning to avoid agencies that want to market your book. If it's not a paid publicist, if you're in the higher range of income, then you can hire a publicist who is hired to market your book. That's very different, who have legitimate media sources that can circulate your book to credible magazines like Forbes and other major outlets. There are agencies preying on the heartstrings of indie authors who believe in their work and who want to tell their story, and they'll exploit you. So I would avoid those marketing agencies that promise you the universe. And I would rather spend my money and building my business by building an author's website. I think you really need to have one, because if not, you're completely dependent on fears of concerns that you can't control, like advertising simply on Amazon or whatever is not going to get you the sales funnels you need in the long term to build up your business. So I would spend my money, for me anyway, building an author's website, and then build a sales funnel through your own marketing efforts like Instagram, Facebook. For me, I've seen very effective engagement there, more than sponsoring an agency, whatever. And then you could test it out yourself, like $5, $10 for posts to see the engagement, and then readjust it. And then I think second thing that's really helpful is like Linktree. You create a sales funnel where people who like your work will begin to follow you, and then they're funneled into links. You give them a gift for their email. And then you can do discounted books later for Christmas or Easter or whatever festivities, etc. And I think email lists through a website are the most effective ways of eventually selling books in the long run. People gift them and people buy them at a discount. And so I think those two things are the most effective I've seen. And I would rather spend my money building my brand than paying someone else to do it for me. Yeah, so besides building a sales funnel through Linktree, using Instagram and Facebook as the hook, the best place I spent my money and seeing the greatest results, it was a game changer, are two partnering credible companies And the first is BookBub, and the second is Goodreads. I believe every indie author needs to combine or stack the two, especially if you're launching. It can be crazy. And first, let me comment on BookBub. It's very difficult to get on there, and it'll take some work, and persistence and tenacity will be required. But if you can build those conditions, it'll pay off. BookBub is a discounted reader site. They have millions and millions of readers in your subgenre. And they're readers. They want to buy books on discount from 99 cents to $3.99 or whatever. And I got a BookBub deal right after I published my book in 23. In the first week, I got 13,000 downloads. So think about that. That's basically an impossible number to reach as an indie author on your own, unless you're a celebrity or sponsored by one, or you have major clout on social media where you have like tens of millions of followers or whatever, or TikTok. But for me, it brought my book, elevated it to a certain point that was almost impossible. And what was the cost? Less than $500 to US and international markets. And that brought such engagement, it changed the game, because now it was downloaded by 13,000 people. So crazy. And if I knew this then, I would have done it. Goodreads also have a book giveaway. You can give 20 hard copies or whatever, or ebooks. But their premium package has in the giveaway, if the readers didn't win, you can email or message. I believe around, 15,000 people signed up to get my book in the giveaway, and people love free stuff. So they'll sign up. Why not? Because it's free, right? And then if you were doing a promotion, like with BookBub or other sites, those people who signed up can be given, again, a sales funnel. And you can tell them, hey, sorry you didn't win, but my book is discounted on this site for a limited time for $1.99 or 99 cents, I think is really the right price to get super engagement. And so I would really look into those two things and work my way so that I can get them. And I would encourage persistence in a growing mindset and learn on the way. Yeah, so how can I alleviate some of the financial burden of being an indie author for all of us? Well, if I had to do it all over again, 3 years I published a book, so much has changed. First of all, you can save a lot of money in copy editing using ChatGPT and Gemini. Or I think for the written word, I think Microsoft Copilot is such a great tool to re-edit just the technical aspects of telling story. I think Copilot's really good at that. I mean, I guess it's Microsoft Word for a reason. I would start there, and then you can minimize some of the cost of editing, and then send it to a professional editor. You can't skim anything on that because you want the best product possible. And then for structure, instead of getting consultants and things like that, or just a friend, I would submit the whole manuscript to the BookLife Prize in its raw form before it's refined, because unlike any other contest or prize, there's a professional publisher's weekly reviewer that goes through your book, and it's brutally honest about your feedback. And there are numbers to every of those categories that they judge in. And why not do that? If I were to write another book, I would do that immediately and save myself the headache of seeing the holes, the plot holes, and the deficiencies in the writing, right? Because that's the most important thing. I've talked about the marketing aspects, but if you can minimize some of those costs like that, I think it will help a lot and alleviate some of those concerns. At least that when you launch the book and you pay for marketing, you have confidence, and you can't buy that. You have confidence that your work is good. So I would start there first, and then build, like I said before, the sales funnels, the buckets of revenue to mitigate the cost. You just have to solve one problem at a time. And it's okay. We're all on the struggle bus together. And I just want to be a friend along the journey. And I wish you all the best. May all your dreams come true as we build viable systems because we don't rise to the level of our goals, like James Clear says, we fall to the level of our systems. So good luck.